If you've never run a launch before, I know it can feel extremely overwhelming. There's so many options, right? Do you run a 5-day free challenge? Do you run a webinar? And then when do paid ads come into the mix of everything else? Here's a short answer you're probably not expecting. They all work pretty damn well. The critical ingredient from all three of those is the big idea that strings everything together. Alright guys, that's a wrap for the video. Big lesson taken care of. It's the big idea. We're all finished here. You can go home now. Okay, so if you didn't pick it up, the big idea is really damn important. And like I've mentioned in the title of this video, 3 lucrative launch methods to sell your coaching program. The big idea is the thing that strings everything together. But I'm going to walk you through these 3 models and show you some real examples along the way too. But like I said, I'm going to give you some real examples. These are 3 examples that I've used successfully with clients to launch their coaching programs. And when I say successful, I mean between 50K and 247K, which means you're in bloody good hands. And one thing I do want to mention is that there are a few prerequisites before you start watching this video and potentially invest, 10 minutes or so of your life. If you're starting from scratch, this video is probably not for you because like all launches, we need an audience to sell to. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, obviously it can work, it's not impossible, but if you have an existing audience that's nurtured, it's gonna be a hell of a lot easier. And number 2 is that you have an offer with at least 3 solid testimonials. And I mean like 3 really good case studies where they're gushing, you've got results, it's amazing, and it's not like, oh, he's amazing, he's awesome, where it's just all praise and you're not actually showing a clear result, like a clear transformation. That doesn't count. Sorry. Oh, were you expecting a 3rd one? Nah, that's so good. You just gotta have those 2 things and then we're pretty much good to go. I'll explain the rest in this video today, but let me introduce myself if you don't know me. Hey, how's it going? My name is Jules Dan. I'm a freelance copywriter with over $10 million in client results. And guess where a lot of those results came from? Those types of launches that I mentioned at the start of this. And I'm super pumped to get into this video today to help unpack that and help you get those similar results for yourself. Over the next few weeks, I'm gonna take you on a journey inside of the world of launches because they're complex, they can be frustrating, but the really cool damn thing about it is that you can make more in a day than most people make in a year, sometimes 3 years. It's pretty nuts. So you and I are going to talk about some things like the secrets of amazing pre-launch that get people anticipated and excited to buy things so they don't really need to read your sales letter. They just be like, take my money. We're going to talk about how to brainstorm the big ideas so that you keep that attention from open to close. Remember how I said the big idea is the key thing? Like, don't gloss over that. You want the big idea. How to write a simple and high converting sales page. Okay, now everyone wants to know what is the secret. It's really not that difficult, but we're going to cover that in this series. Obviously not today, but in the next few weeks. What needs to be said, like what do we write in the cart open emails? Like the emails when you say like, hey guys, open for business? That's the cart open. Plus, it wouldn't be a good series if I didn't tell you all the little mistakes that you can probably make with a launch. After 2.5 years of doing launches with clients, I've made so many mistakes at my clients' expense. Sorry, clients. But hey, it's the overall scoreboard that matters, right? Exactly. Well, that was a bit aggressive. Jeez, calm down, man. Now, if you're just new to launching, I just want to clear things up for you, especially if you're really overwhelmed with the number of new launches that are going around. Why are there so many damn new launches going around? Well, because marketers are really damn good at packaging something and then presenting it to other people in a new way. And that makes people buy. So that's the reason why you're probably confused with launches. There's a shitload of them. Good news for us though is the principles of launching have not changed. If you check out this guy called PT Barnum, he's been using the same principles for launching that we're going to be talking about in today's video. So like I said, I'm going to be covering 3 different lucrative launch models to sell your coaching program, but here are the key principles. Like if I was to just tell you 3 things, it would be this. A good launch builds pressure and excitement around an event. Number 2 is that you talk about all the good stuff that's going to happen at that event before the event. That's the anticipation part. Absolutely critical. You need to be talking about that before actually something is happening. And the 3rd and final thing is that you got to have an event. And at that event, you got to have an offer. And at that offer, you got to explain, hey, here's the reason why there's a short window and here's why there's a limited time or limited quantity. That is going to help improve your sales dramatically, and don't miss those 3 things. I know so many people miss out on either a pre-launch or either scarcity or any of those things, but we're going to go deeper into 3 different lucrative launch models and some of the pros and cons. Number 1 is a internal launch which pushes people to a webinar. And the webinar is our event. The way I've structured this launch for a client before is some pre-launch emails pushing to a webinar. The person hosts a webinar, makes an offer, and we have some emails on the back end to close the cart. So there's about 5 days or so where the offer is actually available. Now, if you have a list between 1,000 to 3,000 people, you can actually make a shitload of money with this, and let me walk you through the pros and cons. So this first webinar example came from one of my first big wins, Rebecca Davison, 150K, 160K launch. Super happy with that, and she had a webinar launch. And I mentioned before, if you have a list between 1 and 3,000, this might be really good for you. Well, Rebecca had about 2,000 people on a list, really well nurtured, she had a great relationship, and she had an offer of $7,800, so the numbers worked in her favor. And that's the first thing. You don't need a big list. You don't need to be some influencer. You just need a high ticket offer, and you need to have a really well nurtured relationship with your email list. Second great thing is that you don't need to have world-class copy to get a really good result. Before Rebecca actually came and reached out for help, she was hitting high 5 figures between $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on her own, and she would not call herself a good copywriter, okay? So you can actually get great results on your own. So I actually give her copy a C+ or a B, which is pretty good. So I actually give her copy a C+ or a B, which is actually pretty good. The thing that she had over, say, like anyone else is that her messaging was on point. She knew her audience exactly. And if you know your audience inside out, then a webinar launch just makes a lot of sense because you're talking exactly to their needs, their desires, all that good stuff. So as long as you understand your audience, you don't have to be some copywriting wizard to write an amazing webinar and launch series. Now, the third pro is that if you sell something high ticket, this is probably one of the best things ever. You get people onto a phone, you close them, $8,000, bang. If it was less than, say, $3,000 on this offer, I don't think it would have performed as well. So just keep that in mind. We're not selling a course. We're selling something pretty high ticket here. But what about the cons? Well, it's a great question. There are definitely some cons involved with this. For starters, you need to have a relationship with this list. Rebecca had been nurturing these people for 8 years. Giving, serving, showing up every single week in the Facebook group and sending occasional emails. She had her own podcast. She's on the radio. Like, this woman had given and given and given. So just because you got a smallish list doesn't mean you're guaranteed a big win, and that's the con. You get what you put in. The other drawback with this though is that if you're selling high ticket, you're gonna be the one who's on the phone closing these people. And Rebecca was an absolute beast. She closed 20 out of 26 calls. So yeah, you're gonna be on the phone for a while. But that's the reason why you hire someone like me to take all the heavy lifting of having to plan, having to write, everything else. Whether it's me or someone else, a copywriter takes that away so you can focus on the things that make you lots of money, like closing people on deals. And that way you're not tired, you're not groggy, actually showing up and giving your best. And if you're not good at sales, well, that's why you're in my world now. So yeah, give this video the thumbs up if you're enjoying this so far. All right, we're gonna go into number 2 of the lucrative launch model, and that is the internal launch for a new product. Kind of similar to the webinar one, but all we're doing is just then pushing them to a sales page. What you need is an email list. You need a pre-launch, you need a sales page with preferably a video and some post-launch emails. I don't think you can get any simpler than that. Now, when I first got started, I really loved using this one because frankly, it was super easy and lazy to pull off. You get great results. You didn't need to pour a bunch of resources into a webinar to make it all fit. All you need is just those pre-launch, a really good idea to wrap around your product, have the sales page to send them to, and then closes urgency and scarcity. It's super damn simple. Now, this is how you make the money. Now, sometimes you're not gonna make a bunch of money on the front end, and that's why when you implement these things, you make a lot of money on the back end. So let me tell you this quick story. So we're launching this relatively new product. I think you've heard it in some other videos. It was called the Paid Discovery Method. It had about 5 or 6 bits of pretty good proof with ROI. So yeah, it was a new product. We had limited amount of proof. So yeah, it was a new product. We had a limited amount of proof. But here's the thing that made a bunch of money. It was the upsell. So you can't really forget those upsells. They're pretty damn valuable. But that's for another video. I really hope that wink was not as shit as I thought it would be. So today's video is pretty high level with what the type of launches are, but in the future videos, I'll tell you about everything you need to know to get people excited from day one of the pre-launch so that when you send them the link to your sales page, they're just gonna scroll down the bottom and click, I wanna buy it right now. They won't have to read the copy. Now let's get into the final lucrative launch model that you can implement today. That's a paid ads 3-day live event. Now, I don't know who pioneered this, but the paid ads challenge has been spun more times than someone who's been playing Twister for a 24-hour marathon, basically. Right foot yellow. Oh, crap. Anyways, the point is, there's heaps of different variations of the 3-day live launch because they work super well. And they work super well because they're extremely good at accelerating the trust building process. There's videos, it's over a few days, people have time to sleep on it, they can get to know you, all that good stuff. So I actually had a bit of a head start with this. Turns out the client I was working with is a bit of a master at live events and workshops because, get this, he teaches people how to sell at live workshops and virtual events. So naturally, he would be quite good at, you would assume, right? What I'm trying to say is, try not to compare yourself to this guy, and yeah, I had a pretty significant upper hand with him doing a good job on his live virtual event. But I'll tell you why, the principles of why this launch model worked so well compared to everything else. And just to pre-frame it, he made 247K with this launch, and he keeps using this sales letter over and this launch over and over again. Colin is only launching to people and selling people who've put their hand up and asked for permission to be pitched to. He won't sell to the rest of his list. He's very strategic with how he uses live video. Like, he'll use stories, he'll break beliefs, he'll use all these ninja things to sort of get in their head and realize, like, I need your product. And even though he has an email list, we're only seeing the material, the launch material that is, like the event, the show up emails, the cart close emails, to the people who put their hand up from the Facebook ad, which is only about 2,600 people. So it's pretty crazy to believe that 2,600 people turns into 247K. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, a 3-day live event, and I'll keep this to last. It's pretty damn powerful. But what this means is that you had 2,600 people who put their hand up, they said, I'm interested, they get your show up emails, they go to the Zoom, they're seeing all this buzz that's leading up to it, and then the 3 days of the actual event. So yeah, he's got their attention, he's built the excitement, they want what he's got. The only catch with this one though is that you need a lot of copy to pull this one off. Yes, you need show up emails, you need follow up emails, you need a sales page, you need the podcast emails. You probably will need to touch up some sales videos as well. If this is your first time doing this, it's probably extremely overwhelming, and it's why someone like Colin asked me to come and fix it up. If this is your first time, pulling this all off can feel extremely overwhelming, especially if you just be like, I want to do a launch. This will probably take a month or two to write. I'll tell you what's going to be the cheat code for making this a whole lot easier. Well, of course, by watching the rest of this video series on launches. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to show you how you can create your own 6-figure launch. And like I mentioned at the start, what you're going to need is probably going to need an audience. You're probably going to need a list, and you're probably going to need at least 3 to 5 solid pieces of proof. If you have that, you have an offer, it's high ticket, you're in good hands. Stick with me over the next few weeks, and we're going to have a bunch of fun. Here's the next video.